Welcome back to the channel, everyone. In this video we're going to be building this DPM structure here, N scale. This is the Woodland Scenics / DPM Erik's Emporium. Of course, we can make this anything we want, and we will. And of course, they make sure to point out on these kits that figures, vehicles, and decals are not included. Which is kind of funny because some of the Woodland Scenics kits do have decals. So let's go ahead and open up the package here. And I don't anticipate this being a very complicated build, although we will be checking for squareness on this kit before any glue hits. And on the inside here we do have our instructions, which I don't really need because, I mean, it's 4 walls and a roof, okay? We do have our glass in here. There we go. We got 2 sheets of glass in this kit. And I think it's 2. And actually we've got 2, and then we've got, looks like a, well, I thought there was a small one there, but no, I think we're good. Just 2 big ones there. Okay. Then we've got our, we do have alignment pins here. We'll see what that's about here in a minute. We have our, let's see, we've got roof detail here. So we've got these little details right here. I guess these must be chimneys. And then we got the other side of that chimney right here, it looks like, that we glue those halves together. Ah, there's our alignment pins right there, so that's interesting. The last kit I built did not have that. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and get all the parts cleaned up, and we'll be back and see how this squares up. So the wall sides have been de-sprued, the little chunks of leftover sprue that was on them. And there's a few of these that, this is a pretty decent kit, that there are a few areas like this window right there. You can see a little bit of flashing in there. So I'm having to go through and inspect these and clean it out there. I don't have to have it perfect, but we don't want it to be eaten out either. So eat out the framing of the window there. So just clean that up a little bit there. For the most part, I haven't really found any issues with the moldings on this. They look pretty good. There's a little bit of flash here and there, but nothing that a good swipe of the razor won't clean up. And not all the pieces have that either. Like this one right here is pretty much good to go. The last kit we did was the original DPM kit, and this is the Woodland Scenics version. Now, I don't know if they've made improvements to these kits or not, but the last Woodland Scenics / DPM kit I built seemed to go together a lot more square. It just seemed to go together. Whereas the last kit was a little bit cockeyed, and I didn't realize that until after everything was good and dried. So we'll see what this one does. So we're going to go ahead and set up our bricks here. Our 1, 2, 3, I call them bricks, but they're blocks. So we'll set these up, and we'll get that straight there. Now I'm going to use this glue to hold this first wall section up here. Actually, maybe I won't. Let's try the fingernail polish here. Yeah. And that's just so that our wall section doesn't tip over while we're attaching these sides. So it looks to me like this side here is going to be the front because it does not have alignment tabs on it. So this side's going to go here. This is the back. And our alignment tabs go right here. So our walls, we know exactly, we get the proper amount of overhang. There is how that's going to work. So we're not guessing on that. So I'm going to go ahead and slather this with glue. And this is a time where if you wanted to go ahead and paint the walls separately, you could do that, weather them, stuff like that. And then you could put the glass in at that stage too before attaching this. Now I'm more of a let's get in, get it done kind of a guy. So I'm going to assemble the building, paint it, and then put the glass in just like we did last time. Either way, it works fine. But if you prefer, this would make a stage where it'd be easier to get the glass in. But obviously you would need to have this painted and stuff like that first, unless you want to use some liquid masking or something. But we're going to go ahead and just get this glued on here. And there we go. I think that looks pretty good. I'm trying to line it up with the grid down there. All right, so got the building glued here. And we're just going to go ahead and prop that up on the 1, 2, 3 blocks while it dries. All right, we'll come back when it's dried and start doing some painting. So I got this gray sprayed on it here and also painted the roof. Got the building pretty square. I didn't really do anything to the roof other than slide it in. There's a little gap over here, but I don't see a gap on this side or this side, just on this corner right here. So I guess I just didn't get this wall quite pushed back far enough there, or it's spread out or something. But I'm not going to worry about that. So this looks pretty good. This is kind of a gray stone color that Rust-Oleum sells. And I think I'm just going to use this primarily for... I'm not really sure yet. I was thinking about the trim and obviously mortar joints. You want to call it grout lines, mortar joints. We'll just go ahead and take this guy out right now. And I got to think about what coloring I want to do with this. This is a little bit like painting a model car. You know, it's like sitting here like, okay, what color of the day do I want to make this? Now, the original photograph here, and this here has kind of got a reddish brick, and I like that. And the storefront is painted kind of a beige color. So is the trim. I'll figure something out, but that Rust-Oleum 2-in-1 primer got it. Well, it's not primer. It's primer plus the color. Although this basically just could be used as primer gray. Very fine. It didn't soak up any of the detail. So we're really good to go on this. So. Well, that barn red sure seems to look pretty good on that. I think that's a good looking building right there, just as it is. Now, I think what I want to do, though, is I got to obviously do a little bit of touch up around the windows. We're going to let this acrylic paint dry. I'm going to need to clean it up a little bit around these edges here. But what I want to do is go ahead and get the sides done all around, and then I'll figure out something for the windows. I might just leave the windows as they are and just touch them up. The one thing that's going to happen, though, is if I do a little bit of, I shouldn't say if, because I probably will, but I do a little bit of powders on this. I'll probably do a minimum amount of powders on this, but it'll help to blend in any of the irregularities that I have in the brick color there. And but I mean, brick has kind of irregularities as it is. And but I can blend that in. Might do a third coat of paint. We'll let this dry. Might do a third coat of paint. There's a few areas around here that look a little thin to me still, but I think that's going to look pretty good like that particular color palette. The sides of these DPM kits I've noticed as I keep building them is you get to the brick detail on this side of the front and it really just doesn't exist. All it is a bunch of lines that, where's the camera at here? It's just all a bunch of lines. Instead of actual brick detail, it's just lines there. So I'm not going to get too picky with that, how that looks. As long as, I guess I probably need to put another coat on that just so it blends in the color wise anyway. But you can see the front side of that, the detail is there, but for some reason the side there is not, doesn't exist. So I'm going to go with this particular color. I got this at Walmart tonight, 50 cents, light mocha. I think that's a nice tan color, beige / tan color. So we'll go ahead and do this. Made in USA. Gotta like that. Plaid Online. Alrighty, so I've got the front painted here the way I like it, and I'm going to try to clean up some of the paint, a little bit of paint. You can see right there I got over the edge there. I'm just going to use some 70% isopropyl alcohol and a Q-tip, and we'll see how that works. Hopefully it don't take too much of the red off. And then once I'm happy with that, I think I'm going to leave that back door like that because I kind of like that worn kind of look to that. I did a test window up here just to see what it looked like, and I'm like, I'm not gonna bother. I kind of like the gray for the windows, so I'm gonna try to clean that paint up. I don't really care so much about the back of the building at the moment because I'm not gonna see it. I'm mostly concerned about the front and maybe the sides, mostly. Once I get the paint to where I want it to, we'll do some weathering and stuff like that. But so that's the plan right now. So we'll just use our thing here to hold some alcohol in it, and let's see how this goes. Now the alcohol should, I don't want to have a whole lot of alcohol here, so I'm going to wring this Q-tip out. The alcohol should pick up this paint and dissolve it, or at least soak it up. And I think I'm going to do the one on the back first as a test just to see. Maybe I'll take half the paint off the brick with it here, and I don't want to do that on the front. No, we might not be able to avoid it at all here, actually, it looks like. So we'll just clean it up back here. And then we'll go back over the brick with the red paint again there and just be a little bit more careful. Try to be a little more careful. Okay, that worked pretty good. We got that cleaned up. We got just a little bit that came off on the edge of the brick there, but that's okay. We'll just bring back our red that we used before. Our barn red. Now I also have a brick red here. And I actually think they're pretty dang gum close to one another there. So maybe the next building we'll use the brick red. I'm just going to give this a shake up here. And we're not going to use much this time because we're not doing the whole building. We're just touching up what wiped off there, so I think a drop will be good enough for what we're going to do. A little dab will do ya. All right, let's go ahead and soak this up into the brush here. We'll just dab it on the surface, around the edge there. Just dabbing away. Just a dab, just a dab, just a dab, dab, dab. And this side, we'll do it over here. Do it along this one a little bit. Yeah, so I'm just throwing some white on here in between the brick here. Went ahead and threw a little bit of blue, powder blue on the door here. Kind of blend that in a little bit. And take some black here and kind of darken up the bottom there a little bit. Make it look like a little bit of dirt there. We'll do a little bit of yellow. Mix a little bit of yellow with that if I can get it to pick up some yellow there. Here we go. Gives it a nice kind of a dirt effect there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of brush this. And I'm trying to sink the white powder into the grooves of the brick. And then kind of wipe off the surface of the brick with this cosmetic sponge. And it'll give us a nice variation in the mortar there, which you'll see in older buildings anyway. Try to get some of that surface mortar off of there, white powder off of there, so we put that mortar down into the brick. I already did this side, and I like the pattern that turned out on that. I got this back side here. This is a very nice weathered effect without too much effort there. So here's the before, basically, and then here's the after. So I'm just going to take the white, and I'm just drawing it down. This is just a cheap brush. It's a very coarse brush, not very good for painting, but it works really good for weathering. Gives it a nice streaking pattern. I figured down here at the bottom where water is going to be, it's going to be a little bit more mortar show up down here. The erosion of the brick over time, exposing more mortar. And I'll just kind of do that to brush it off here. Some of the more built up spots there, just kind of brush it off. Just brush it off. Just brush it off. Just brush the devil out of it there. Okay. So I'm going to go in here, put a little bit of black under the windows. Everybody seems to do that, I guess, so we'll do it here too, and that'll kind of dull that white a little bit as well. I like to put a little bit of yellow in it just because it yellow mixed with the black kind of gives it a nice dirt effect. Okay, let's go ahead and see what this looks like. And of course, the wonderful thing about pastel chalks is that you can just wash the stuff off if you don't like it. Just do a downward drag there. You can see how much that dulls. There's the fresh paint. We're going to leave the front, I think, pretty much as is. The sides, because the sides will going to get, you know, they don't get painted very often, if at all. This is maybe just natural brick exposure, and this has been painted a little bit, but I think we're going to go in and do just a little bit on the front, though. Not much, nothing crazy. Just a little bit. I'll just go across here a little bit. Trying to sink that powder again into the brick, between the brick, the joints of the brick there. And again, we'll just try to brush the surface of the brick off here. Our cosmetic wedgie. Okay. I think that looks pretty good. Now we can always go through and do it with our finger if we want to kind of wipe the bricks off a little bit. All depends on what kind of a look you're wanting to do. I think that looks pretty good. You could say that this was painted a while ago, and then some of the paint's coming off where the mortar is. Yeah, the mortar in between the bricks there, maybe. I think that looks pretty good. All right, so we're starting to come down to the home stretch of this project. The only thing I got left to do on this guy is put the windows in and put the roof in. So the roof on this is just you saw earlier in the video, it's just a solid plastic piece here. And I've already painted it. Now this has, on this side, the back side, it has little nibs right there. But none of the rest of the sides do, which is kind of interesting that they didn't bother to do that. So we're going to just kind of set him in there. Okay, so I got it set up pretty good here, and I think I'm going to leave it because that's about as good as it's going to get, I think. So I'm just going to carefully turn this guy around, and we'll apply a little bit of glue, and we'll just glue it in place for now, and then that'll help it stay So that when I get the styrene support in, that it'll hopefully not shift around on us. It really doesn't take long. It's already done. So I'm going to flip this around. I think I'll just leave it without the strips, actually, because it seems like it's gluing in very well without that. So I'm just going to put a drop on that side. We'll get a drop on this side, let it wick in, and we'll just call it good on that for the roof. This plastic melts really well with that tester's glue. All right. Blow that off, and there we go. And later we'll come back and do a little bit of weathering on that roof, maybe. But I want to do some roof details and such, but let's go ahead and get the glass cut out here. Now, I think I'm going to use this whole sheet because on the back side, we got a lot of windows here, and might as well just go ahead and do that. And have to trim it up still a little bit, but and that looks pretty good about there. Eyeball it, test fit it. Okay, we still need to trim a little bit off because of those nubs. Try it again. And I think we got it there. So just use one of our clear glues, if I can find it. The Eileen's Tacky Glue. We'll just use some of this. Just dip the back of this brush into it. Why not? We'll pick up some of the glue here. Smear it around the corners. Get it on this door here. In between the windows. A little bit more. We could just use model glue too, I guess, or super glue, but super glue tends to soak into the glass and make it fog up, so which sucks. So we're just going to smear it around on the inside there, just like so. Don't need a whole lot. Okay, that'll do it. And then we'll just when they say tacky glue, they're not lying, folks. So we just want to set this in and not move it around, because we don't want to smear the glue all over the place and get it into the windows themselves. And there we go. And then we'll just let that dry, and we can use our 1, 2, 3 block to hold it in, or just leave it the way it is. I think it'll be fine the way it is. So I'm going to cut a strip out for the side here. And let's see here. I'm going to want to do about to there. And then we'll use this piece that I just cut off for these two windows. And I'm going to cut this in half because I don't need the whole thing. And the other part may come in handy at some point for something else. You just never know. We'll keep that in the pile, a little parts pile. Get some more glue here. Give it a smear. Okay. And there we go. drop it in there. And just like that, we are in like Flynn. Just got to do the front side here. Got this side done. Looking really good. Looking sharp. All right. We'll get that done and we'll be back. Said that sheet from the last build would come in handy for something in the future, and that's exactly what we're going to do on this one. So I don't have to cut a bunch of little chunks and make them somehow work and fit. We're just going to cut this guy to fit. I'm going to go about to there, I think will be good. For the width, let's try that. Perfect. I'll trim this side like so. Slide that up in there. Press it down. There we go. Now, Silene's clear tacky glue, I use this on a lot of stuff. As you'll see in future videos, this also comes in handy for gluing model car headlights and windshields and things like that. I like the tacky glue. It's cheap too. It's actually about $1 cheaper than this at Walmart, but I like Hobby Lobby. So we'll just press that down. We'll make sure other windows have not lifted off. And looks like we are good to go. Looks like this window over here is going to need to have a little bit of persuasion to keep it down because it wants to keep lifting on this corner back here. So we're going to find a persuader in the name of a jar of paint, I think. We're just going to set that jar of paint in there, and we're going to hope that the jar of paint doesn't get glued to the window. All right, we'll just let that sit in there, and let's see. I'm not sure how long this stuff takes to dry. You should just let it sit and come back a while later. I don't actually see where it says dry time on here. I'm going to say probably about a good half hour at least to let that sit and dry. So at this point, we're basically done with the building. I'm going to add a little bit of roof detail to it like we did the last one, and do a little bit of weathering on the roof, and I think we'll be able to call this good. At least for now, because we'll do an interior later if I decide to do that. But for now, it'll just work fine as a placeholder on the layout, and I might just leave it the way that is. I don't know. I may eventually put some decals in the window as well, which would be pretty nice. Some shop, advertising signage and stuff like that. Yeah, be pretty cool. So I'm just going through here and giving the roof a little bit of a weathered, dirty appearance there with the pastel chalks. And some of these right here. And also a mixture of that and then what's in this kit right here. And I like this kit better personally because the pastel chalks are softer on this and they work better. They break up better on the brush. Whereas these are pretty hard. I actually had to drag them onto the roof in order to get some brownage on there, but nevertheless we got that taken care of. So I got the roof details painted here, and I'm just going to put a couple exhaust stacks on here, nothing fancy, and we'll give them a little bit of a dusting too once they're glued on there. I'll probably just do one or maybe two. I'm not really sure. There's some small ones here and some medium-sized ones. So yeah, I'll probably just do a couple little ones and call it good, I think. Yeah, maybe something like that. I don't know. So let's go ahead and we'll go clean that up just a little bit here. There's a little bit of flash on, a little bit of chunks left over from cutting it off the tree. Flush cutters are hard to get flush when it's a round piece of plastic. So we'll just trim that off there. I think wherever they land looks good enough to me, because I don't really think there's any going to really matter a whole lot as long as there's something somewhere on the roof. So we're just going to dot his little rear end here with some glue. And we're just going to say, done. And we're going to take this one Dot his rear end with some glue. And we're going to say done. And the wet glue actually kind of makes it look like there's tar been applied to there since it's a black roof. So that'll work out good, I think. And we'll put a little drop on the hole that's on this side of it here. And just like so. Now we have roof details. It is what it is, you know. When you look at the building, you don't know from the outside why it is where it is. So hey, it can be pretty much anywhere you want it to be then. All right, here we go, guys. Here's the mostly completed kit on the layout, and we're going to place it somewhere on here. You can see how the brick turned out pretty nice there, I think. It's just one of those things, it's a little bit at a time. A little bit of paint, a little bit of weathering, a little bit of white, a little bit of gray, and you get a pretty nice effect overall. Here's how the roof details turned out so far. I put a little bit of tar around the vents there, a little black paint, aka tar, and I give the spinning thing there a little bit of a black wash. This camera would decide on what it wants to focus on there. Thank you. And so we're going to place this. I think we're going to put this for now. Clean that spot off there. Move the car. Place him over here. I really should work on Odo's, because now Odo's is starting to look kind of like it doesn't quite fit. All right. So guys, I'm going to give this kit about a 9 out of 10. I really enjoyed this build. It went together very easily. Minimal work to get it straightened and squared out and all that stuff. The brick detail is excellent. Minimum flash on this kit and the windows and doors. Nothing that a hobby knife won't cure. And I'm very happy with the result. It glued together very nicely, and I like the fact that it had an actual roof instead of a chunk of plastic that you had to cut out and paint like we did for this one right here, this guy we did in the last video. So overall, 9 out of 10 stars. Definitely recommend this. And there's my cat. There you go. She's making her YouTube appearance, folks. That's right. She wants to be known. All right, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Another build on Next Collectible Creations. We are starting to get a town here going, guys. I might make this a big furniture store, maybe. I don't know. It's a big building compared to the rest of these, though, isn't it? All right, guys. Take care. Peace out, and we'll see you again on the next build review. Peace out, everybody.